This is our parking, sponsored by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. It is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there and your mothers pulling double duty. As usual, I'm recording this on a Sunday when I don't have a guest. Very last minute. In fact, the time is about 10:30 Pacific Standard Time. A belated happy birthday to Mark Stoneman, supporter of the show, strong supporter of the show, and a very dear friend of mine. Just got back from Albuquerque. My wife had some business out there, so I decided to go out there. So, like I said last week, I've been there since Monday night to Saturday. Got an opportunity to hang out with a couple of my NSX buddies. In fact, let's say I hung out with Kenny, Chris, and Randy. And they're kind of a staple for me. Sometimes Chris isn't there, but it's usually always Kenny and Randy. I've been to Albuquerque, I think, 4 times now. But I always make a point to reach out to those guys and try to hang out. If you were in Albuquerque area, like Jeff, like Ryan, and a few others, don't sweat it. I'll be back. Or you can come visit me or rendezvous with us at NS Expo. But it was a great trip. One of the things that we talked about, one of the things my wife and I talked about when we went out to eat was meat. I order medium rare steak. And my wife and my mother-in-law, like my mother-in-law is really tripped out. Even if you get it medium well or medium, if it has a little bit of red, it trips her out. And then my wife, she admits that it's very delicious when I give her a slice of my steak, but at the same time, she gets really grossed out because she sees all the red and she says all the red is blood, except the red juice in your meat is not blood. Blood is removed during the slaughter process, and afterwards, very little blood remains in the muscle tissue. That red liquid is actually water mixed with a protein called myoglobin. And so they say, and I'm reading this now off of Pushatuck Creek Steak, something like that.com, but you can find it anywhere. As meat ages, the muscle tissue breaks down and it doesn't take long. The water and myoglobin cells inside the meat are released and a red blood-like liquid comes out from the meat when it's prepared. They said myoglobin is what separates white meat from red meat. The more myoglobin cells, the redder the meat is. So most mammals have a high amount of myoglobin, therefore red meat. If it's white meat, those are animals with low level or zero myoglobin, such as poultry or seafood. So, myoglobin is similar to hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is different because it helps red blood cells store oxygen. Myoglobin, on the other hand, helps muscle cells store oxygen. So when you order steak and you get it medium rare, that red, again, is not actually blood. Because when I grew up, and I tell my wife this, she always gets grossed out. I told her my dad would always cook steaks, and we'd always have dinner rolls, and we would take the dinner rolls and we'd sop up all that red, salty, delicious juice off the plate and on our rolls and eat it. And it was so good. It was mixed with that and like some Worcester sauce and some salt and whatever else he seasons steaks with, some pepper. So that's the thing. I don't think a lot of people know that because you go on social media and every time you see a medium rare steak, people say that thing's still mooing at you, or that's not cooked, or I prefer to eat my steak not bloody. It's not blood. Coming up on today's show, some Fallout conversation, some Father's Day talk, and some confirmation on a future guest after this word from 4Wheel Online. For over a decade, 4Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They are dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any make or model on the road. The truck products cover everything to give your truck a custom look and added functionality. Need a wheel and tire package? Head over and use the configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitted today. Visit them online at 4Wheel Online. So I'm recording this on Father's Day, and every time I think it's funny because every Father's Day I don't even think about my own dad who passed in October 20th of 2020. I think about some of the relationships that I've built because of Father's Day. Specifically, my very good dear friend, Wes Tankersley, who is also a father. And, we kind of connected off of my Father's Day episode in 2020. Being a father / dad, it's easy and very difficult. For me, my kids, they're not my natural kids, but they were so young at the time. I've always treated them as my kids, as my natural kids, and they've treated me as such. They never called me Jay. Rarely do they refer to me as their stepdad. They just refer to me as dad. Now, of course, if you're a father out there, maybe you're married into an Insta-fam, and you're not sure how to navigate this, every once in a while, your kids are going to call you by your first name. They're going to refer to you. They're going to refer to you as stepdad, or they might just refer to you as dad. It all depends on what part of their life they're in. And in my honest opinion, it depends on if their natural father is even in the picture. So for me, my kid's father really wasn't in the picture. My wife kind of gave him an ultimatum, and he didn't want to have anything to do with the kids because he couldn't be with her. And I think he kind of repented on that later, but by then it was too late. But I would say that, it's not easy, but it's very rewarding. Like my kids are grown kids. So those of you who know me well know that my kids are grown. They've moved out of the house. I mean, I'm a grandfather. My grandson came in today and he drew me a nice little picture and he gave me a card, and he's 5 years old. Loves the hell out of me. I love the hell out of him. But for my kids, they're both in their late 20s, mid to late 20s. And with the exception of maybe my daughter wilding out when she was young, because that's what girls do with daddy issues. I remember her telling me once that you're not my dad and you're never going to be my dad. But she was, I don't know, 7th or 8th grade. And my wife and I were on a trip in Italy. And it crushed my wife to hear that. And I told her, I go, you know what? I'm not mad. As an adopted kid myself, I fully expected this. I'm surprised it took this long. But it doesn't mean anything. And I told my wife, I said, don't worry about it. It doesn't mean anything when a child says that to you, when they're in their mid-teens. It's when your kids are in their early 20s, their mid-20s, is when they really appreciate, if they haven't yet, they really appreciate everything you've done for them as a parent. So if you're listening to this, remember that. Remember that through all the hard times you're going to have with your children, that there's a finish line. There's a means to an end. And there's salvation. Because I've been able to watch both my kids grow up and kind of mature a little bit. And I'm so proud of both of them. As a father, I'm so proud of both of them. They've both been able to do some amazing things, and they will continue to do some amazing things. And you kind of look back and you observe them, and you see some of those lessons that you've beaten to their heads, not physically, over the last umpteen years, or in my case, 20 years. And it's rewarding. It's validating. All the times that my wife and I disagree about how we raise the kids, my son used to always ask simple things like, this is very simple, and he's not this remedial, but how do you spell bus? And I would always say, what does it sound like? Bus. What sounds like bus? And my wife was always like, BUS. And I would always tell her, like, you can't tell them that. You have to let them figure it out and help them along the way. And we would always fight about that. And my son used to always come to me with car questions. Hey, Dad, my car's acting weird. I'm like, all right. Can you give me some more information? It's like that end user who puts in that support ticket. And if you have a job like I do, and every once in a while you get end user support tickets, and it's like, my system doesn't work. It's useless information. What does that mean? So when he would come to me and say, my car's making a funny noise, I would ask him, what kind of noise do you think it's making? He had an Audi. I go to AudiZine, because there's nothing that you're experiencing right now with that old Audi that 120,000 other people haven't experienced, because the car is already 15 years old, and it's a very common car. And I would tell them, you go out, you do your homework, come back to me and let me know what you think it is, and we'll work together on trying to figure it out. But I'm just not going to tell you immediately what it is, because I don't know. And so now he's so analytical, and he will sit there and debate me all night, and he brings receipts. And I would like to think that I am the reason why he brings the receipts. And it's awesome, and it's rewarding and it's fulfilling. But what's Father's Day to you? Let me know. I mean, do you have a father? Maybe you don't have a father. Maybe you were raised by a single parent and it was your mother. Like I said in the beginning, happy Father's Day to all the fathers and all the mothers pulling double duty. Switching gears, I want to talk about, I just got done editing my episodes 7 and 8 for the hit Amazon show Fallout. And I love the game. And I really, really, really enjoyed the show. It started off a little slow and quirky, but, I made it all the way through episode 8, and there's no way there's not a season 2. In fact, they've already announced a season 2. If you guys have watched it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched it and you have access to Amazon Prime, I'm telling you, it's worth your time. It is a very quirky, dark humor, really fun show, but it's serious too. It's got a lot. The main storylines, I say plural because there's several characters. It's serious, but the way they did it is brilliant. The visuals are brilliant. It's probably going to win a bunch of awards. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics give it like a 93. And for a show that's based off a video game that I've spent 1,000 hours easily playing, it's really well done. I've watched Halo Season 1, and while I liked it, people seem to not like it a lot. You have The Last of Us. I watched that, and it was a really good show, but apparently every single episode is a carbon copy of everything that happened in the game. I didn't have a PlayStation. I almost bought a PlayStation just for that game. But it's disappointing that the episodes are just like the game. Person to person, action for action. It's like they took no creative freedoms. And as somebody who never played the game, in learning that, it's a little disappointing. Fallout is not that. Fallout follows the lore of the game, but that's about it. Loved it. And I can't wait for season 2. Which, self-promotion, I do have a YouTube reaction channel. It's called Get Real with Jhae Reacts. There's 2 of them out there. One of them has a more colorful background than the other. The more colorful one is the 2.0 version. I got 10 subscribers. Thing's been open for like 2 months. But the other Get Real with Jhae Reacts has, 3,000 or something subscribers. But if you like those shows, if you want to support, go ahead and subscribe to those channels. If you don't watch stuff like that, then don't bother subscribing, because it's only going to hurt me in the end. So last week I talked about I'm working on a special guest. All my guests are special, but this is someone in the automotive industry who's really special. And communicating back and forth with his assistants, he's booked. And so coming up in less than a month, I'm going to have this conversation with someone that I know personally. We've talked, and that's how I got his number. And he told me to email him, and that's how this thing got set up. But I'm really excited about that opportunity. And you guys are going to be excited when I present it. And I'll let you know exactly who it is and what it is. In fact, I will announce it on my Patreon. You don't have to join my Patreon because you're going to find out. But I got to let my Patreon people know. I'm really excited about that opportunity. I'm probably going to watch 5 or 6 hours of this person doing interviews, because that's how I learn about my guests a little bit better, so that I don't ask them the same question everybody else asked them. But I might ask him a follow-up question to something that everybody else asked him. So it's exciting. A little bit of car news. I got a call just before I left to Albuquerque, or actually on my way to Albuquerque, that the NSX is done and they did some warranty work on it. So my ride with the RDX is going to end after about a month. But hopefully I'll have it back by next week. There's a few things that they didn't do that I asked them to do. And the tech said he didn't notice those issues, but they've kind of had problems with this since 2017. So I know it's an issue. And so I'm going to call them first thing in the week and say, hey guys, trust me, just freaking do it. It's covered under warranty. Just do it. But I am honestly excited to get the NSX back. And it's hot as hell outside, but I don't care. I want to go for a cruise. So with that being said, I want to thank Right Honda and Right Toyota, 4wheelonline.com, sell sharp wireless services, Auto Cannon, officially licensed Honda and Acura gear. I got to get out there and I got to do a photo shoot with my buddy. It's hot as hell outside, and around now it's like 110 degrees outside. I've got hoodies and jumpsuits, but I need to do a photo shoot because I need new photos, and I want to support people who support me. Want to thank Patreon business supporter Koya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida, Automotive Specialty Tool out of Owings Mills, Maryland, Pell Construction out of Colony, Michigan, Beak House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Traverse City, Michigan, and of course, Shaping Success with the one and only Wes Tankersley out of Boise, Idaho. If you want to help the podcast upgrade, join me at Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Get access to bonus audio as well as show swag. And I will say thank you to everybody who has actually submitted an order within the last week. I fulfilled those orders. Plenty more of that came from. I'm probably going to move web platforms from Squarespace to Shopify. So be looking for that. You can also shop on my Instagram. There's only one item, but I'm working on that. Shout out to Mark Stolman, of course, birthday boy, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Graves, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Alice Gamina, Drew Bunkley, and Yazoo Chiba. Email the show at hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions. Follow me on Instagram at Pfenning. You can follow my travel page at J_travels. Join the Hard Parking Violations Facebook group. Join me on TikTok at HardParkingJ. Join the Facebook at facebook.com hardparkingmedia. I can't grow that. You tell them all how great this show is. Let's do this. Let's grow this thing together. And I will talk to you all next week.